Welcome to my English 1 lesson demonstration. My name is Dr. Saeeda Aude, and it is my pleasure to share this demonstration with you. My first point that I want to make for class today is we are going to talk about thesis statements, okay? Thesis statements are what drives your paper. So when you're writing a paper, it is really important to know how to write a thesis statement. So my question for you today is, what is a thesis statement and why is that important? So during this lesson, I want everyone to think about the importance of a thesis statement, and we're going to actually break down what that is and what that means and why this is the driving force for your paper. So your thesis statement is the main argument of your paper, okay? It is the main argument of your paper. It can be arguable or not arguable. The point of a thesis statement is that it needs to be clear within your paper. Your wording has to be straightforward and to the point. When I think of a thesis statement, I like to think of it in terms of a meal. So within that meal, and in my entire course of my meal, I may have my meat, my vegetables, and some type of starch, right? So when I have that, that is my entire dinner. Let's call it our dinner. And I break down each section of that dinner as parts of my paper or my topic sentences. So each part of that meal, my meat, that would be one of my topic sentences in one of my paragraphs. My vegetables, that would be another topic sentence in one of my paragraphs. And then I would have my starch. That would be another topic sentence. So if I look at my whole plate in its entirety, I need to have a full meal, or I need to make up the main part of my entire dinner. So I look at the thesis statement as kind of like the whole of different parts. When you are writing your thesis statement, it is important that it is sufficient, that it has enough to it to feed, not just the parts of the topic sentence that will address that specific paragraph, but it needs to address each point within your paper. With that being said, with your thesis statement, you want to try and use as few words as possible to argue your point. Remember, a thesis statement is not a paragraph. It is a sentence. It is arguable or not arguable, but it gets straight to the point. And within that sentence, you want to begin to address each of the topic sentences or the things that will make up your paragraphs within your paper. Most of all, it has to be specific. Your thesis statement should be very specific and to the point. You want to be as precise as you can be in your wording that you're using for your thesis statement. This is the beginning to let the reader of your paper know that you are arguing something, it's to the point, and when they read the rest of your paper, they can find those exact points throughout. So one of the things that you can avoid in doing this, you don't want to be vague, okay? You want to make sure you are exacting and to the point. Also, avoid saying something is better or worse or different. Be specific. How is it better? How is it worse? How is it different? So when you're writing your paper, and we'll be talking about this because we're going to explore one of the novels by Robert Louis Stevenson, and it's important that you know how to develop your thesis statement when we're exploring this novel. When you're writing, think about your paper again as a whole, okay? Your thesis statement goes in your introductory paragraph, and it should be the last sentence of that introductory paragraph. Again, it is not the entire paragraph. It is that sentence of the last paragraph that is going to leave a lasting statement or an impact for the reader. So it is very important that you are very specific, that you're very much to the point, that you're touching all of the points within that statement that will be addressed throughout your paper. Again, there is a difference between a thesis statement and the topic sentences. So let's explore the differences between the thesis statement and the topic sentence. When you have a topic sentence, again, this is the main argument of your paragraph, as opposed to your thesis statement, where that is the main argument of your paper. So the difference is, whereas the thesis statement is the last sentence of your introductory paragraph, your topic sentence should be the first sentence of your body paragraph. In a longer essay, typically, the topic sentences will connect back to the thesis. That's why it is very important that you show that connection, that you show that your topic sentence is a part of that dinner, a part of that meal, which is your thesis statement. Because again, that thesis statement is going to capture the entire argument of your essay, while the topic sentence is going to actually break it down into parts. Again, think about a pizza pie. A pizza pie is a whole pie, but when you take a slice of it, you have a slice of that whole. So let's think about the thesis as the entire pie in its entirety. It makes up everything, but then I'm going to take a slice of it and I'm going to address that slice specifically, and that will make up one of my paragraphs. In an open response question, the topic sentence again is the first sentence. It argues the point that you are going to prove in that specific paragraph. So let's look at an example. Ben & Jerry's is the best ice cream brand because it is creamy and it contains many toppings. This is a good topic sentence because some could argue that's not true. Ben & Jerry's is not the best ice cream. There is a better brand out there. Let's look at the next one. The company, Ben & Jerry's, is located in New Hampshire and makes different and unique flavors of ice cream. This is not a good topic sentence because it is more factual as opposed to arguable. So again, when we're talking about a thesis statement and we're specifically looking at this to write a paper on Robert Louis Stevenson, think about what is arguable, what is the main point of your paper, and then within each topic sentence, you will be able to break that down into different parts. So let's talk about the author, Robert Louis Stevenson. Here's some background about him. He was a world-renowned author. He was a 19th century Scottish writer. Lighthouse design was his family's profession by trade, and he went to Edinburgh University to study engineering, but instead he decided to study law. So he graduated law school, and although he graduated successfully, he decided to go on to be a writer. And one of his most favorite and famous novels is The Sire de Maltraite Store. This was written in 1877. However, Lewis did have some health issues later in life, and he was bedridden. But during that period of time, some of his most famous writings came from that time period. He is extremely famous for writing novels such as Treasure Island and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which most of you may know of that particular novel. So today we are going to explore The Sire de Maltraite Store. That is the writing, or that is the novel that we're going to explore, and to help you write your thesis statement. So let's take a look at that. The setting for this novel is in the year 1429. The Hundredth Year War was going on during this time between France and England. And the main character in this story is Denis de Beaulieu, a 22-year-old soldier who was in a territory that is occupied by English and Burgundian troops. So again, we look at one of the vocabulary words that we have, safe conduct. But safe conduct in this situation means it is an unsafe, volatile situation for Dennis. One of the things that in this novel you need to pay attention is Stevenson does an excellent job using descriptive language to describe mood and atmosphere that is created by the writer. It is almost picturesque in how he describes it. The weather, the way he describes the setting and the atmosphere outside and inside of the house. Then we go on to talk about characterization. What do we know about each of the characters in the story? There are three main characters and one sub character that is not talked about. So you have Dennis, you have Blanche, and you have the sire. Think about that again when you're writing your thesis statement. What is it about the characters that bring this story to light? What are some of the traits for Dennis, Alan, and Blanche that make this particular novel stand out? And how can you actually work that into your thesis statement? So again, we're talking about the plot and the main characters, Blanche, Dennis, and the Sire de Maltrate. Was Dennis a noble character? Was what he did, marrying Blanche in the end of the novel, a noble or ignoble type of gesture? What attracted Blanche? Was it just a childhood fancy? Was it just the idea of being in love? Or was it made for a wise reason and vice versa? Also, does Dennis portray a natural love, a worldly love, or is it more of a spiritual love? So, when considering this novel, I want you to think about all of these things when writing your thesis statement. Once again, look at all the points of the novel. Think about what your main argument of your entire paper is going to be. That thesis statement is the last sentence of your introductory paragraph. And then you want to have arguable statements for your topic sentences that are more specific. And you definitely have to use examples from the story to support your arguments and analysis. Are there any questions? Thank you so much for viewing my presentation. And thank you so much for allowing me to present this to you today.